Now, that's a perfect segue to get into boxing. Nothing has been happening since October, and we're finally going to get some fights down the line. Let's talk about some good news in boxing. Let's talk about some fights that have been made.
Okay.
The Bantamweight tournament on Showtime.
Can't wait for that to happen in December.
Absolutely. We have Agbeko, we have Darchinian, we have Yanni Perez, and we also have Victor. Did I say Darchinian already? Abner Mares. Aris.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your pick to win the tournament right now?
It's a tough call. It's such a close-knit tournament. There's so many. All four guys are very, very good. You know, some of the top fighters in the division, and they were still supposed to put in Nonito Donaire,
right?
Yep.
And
Fernando Montiel and Bob Arum decided to let them two not be in the tournament. Unfortunately,
well, hopefully they'll fight each other.
It's supposed to happen next year. But with the tournament right now, I'm going to go right now with Abner Mares. I thought he beat Yanni Perez. I thought he beat Yanni Perez in a very close fight, which, I can understand the draw. I thought, it could have been a draw. But I thought he edged Perez. I think he's going to beat Darchinian relatively easy. And I expect that King Kong Agbeko is going to lose again a very highly competitive fight with Yanni Perez, and then we're going to have a rematch between Yanni Perez and Abner Mares for the finals.
Well, I think this is a fantastic tournament, and kudos to Showtime for putting it together. I mean, usually they don't lavish this kind of attention on the little guys.
Yeah, they don't.
But the little guys make great fights,
Yeah.
and kudos for them. And I think the interesting about this tournament is some of these guys have fought each other already.
Yeah.
Agbeko beat Darchinian.
Yep.
Yanni Perez beat Agbeko, and then Mares is being
Mares had fought a draw with Perez.
Right, fought a draw with Perez, I'm sorry. And so this is a very interesting tournament, and I think these guys, on any day, are capable of beating any of the other guys. There's no one dominant fighter in this. I'm going to have to go with the hometown guy, Mr. Agbeko, who is from Ghana, but lives and fights in the Bronx, so I'm going to go with Agbeko.
I just think he's the underdog of the tournament. That's a good pick.
Yeah, I think if I love his style, I think he lost a very competitive fight with Perez. A very competitive fight. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to start on December 11th in Mexico, and then the next round is going to be in either earlier or in the middle of 2011, and it's single elimination, which should make it more interesting. And I guess one of the reasons why they made it single elimination is because of their other tournament that they're doing, the Super Middleweight tournament on Showtime, which
not so Super 6 anymore.
Not so Super 6. There's a lot of disappointment now. I mean, I'm really disappointed that we're not going to see Andre Ward and Andre Durrell fight. That was a really big letdown. I was really looking forward to that fight. I was looking more forward to that fight than I was the Pacquiao-Margarito fight. I think that was a really interesting fight to show who's going to be the future of boxing. And, for them, first of all the hemming and hawing about fighting each other because they're friends, I mean, come on, guys. And then
there's a lot of different questions that need to be answered about that. Andre Durrell pulled out of the tournament citing a head injury from his fight with Abraham.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say he's not. I'm never going to call someone on a brain injury and say, okay, they're not really injured. I don't want to say that. He did take a legitimate, really bad sucker punch that knocked him for a loop in that fight. We saw it. He was really out of it. He did suffer a concussion. Does he still have the lingering effects from that? I don't know. I'm not gonna call him out on that.
Right.
But at the same time, there still are a lot of questions that need to be answered about that fight. When it was first scheduled, no one knew where the fight was going to be held. Neither one of the fighters were training for the fight either. So there was a lot of questions. There was a lot of different circumstances, a lot of weird things going on. You try to question Dan Goose and you try to question Gary Shaw on it. They were both very non-commental on it. So, and now the fight was finally scheduled again, and they got pulled out. A lot of people are speculating Al Heyman has something to do with it. And at the same time, what makes it a little bit more interesting? Guess who's fighting Andre Ward now? Sakio Bika. Who is Sakio Bika advised by? Al Heyman. Makes you think. There's a lot of stuff going on there. We don't have the full story, but I'm sure it'll play itself out in the upcoming weeks up to the fight.
Right. And from two fighters who don't want to fight one another and might not have the hearts that we thought they had, let's talk about two guys that are fighting. Katsidis versus Marquez, Juan Manuel Marquez. They're going to fight on November 27th. And unfortunately, Michael Katsidis suffered a tragedy when his brother, Stahi Katsidis, passed away suddenly. And now he could have pulled out of the fight. Katsidis had every reason to pull out the fight, to postpone the fight, but he's staying, and he's going to fight, and he's dedicating the fight to his brother. Now, that says a lot about Katsidis' heart, and I don't know how much of a chance he has versus Juan Manuel Marquez, who's a pound-for-pound legit fighter, but I'm rooting for Katsidis. Hats off to Katsidis for doing this, even though suffering such a great tragedy.
I totally agree. Katsidis is a modern-day warrior in the same old as Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward, and others from the past. For him to fight on, considering what happened with the tragedy of his brother, who he was extremely close with, he said they were one and the same. I have a lot of respect for him for that. Everyone in the boxing community has a lot of respect for him for that. And Katsidis, he's going to bring it, especially that fight. He's already been training like a madman, from what I've heard, in Thailand for this fight. And this added incentive now to fight fight on in the memory of his brother is going to make a memorable night when he fights Juan Manuel Marquez.
Right.
Because we both know Marquez, it brings out the best of Marquez when a guy comes slugging at him.
Right, and Marquez isn't a spring chicken.
He's not a spring chicken. He takes a lot more punches
left. Katsidis is the younger guy, and
Katsidis is going to bring it.
Right,
so it should be very interesting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm thinking that might be a dark horse for fight of the year. If
that's what a lot of people are picking. That's the fight that everyone's looking forward to in November.
Yeah, so so thankfully we have people like Michael Katsidis and Juan Manuel Marquez who are ready to go into the ring.